A lot of you are probably already aware that Diane Sawyer did a 2020 special last night about guns in the home of families that have small children. Now, this special dealt with how those guns are locked up. Are they kept away from children? Are they left out where children can access them? And is it safe to do that? Is it safe to have guns around children? Now, most of us are already familiar with the smear jobs 2020 loves to do against gun owners. They love to portray us in the worst light they possibly can. They have done some really stupid things in the past. So I don't think any of us were going to be surprised when this came off as the same thing, when it just came off as a smear job. When they geared all the facts and misrepresented everything to make it just look like we're bad people. I don't think any of us were going to be shocked by that. And I'm sure all of you weren't going to be shocked when I came on and made a ranting video about how they were smearing us. But that's not what happened. In fact, the whole special turned out to be something that I've been saying all along. And that is, if you have small kids in your house, lock up your guns. There's no excuse for leaving loaded firearms around small children unattended. And I'm talking late teens down. I'm talking anyone that isn't mature enough to handle a firearm on their own. Now, my 15-year-old, I wouldn't leave him with a firearm. I definitely wouldn't leave an 8-year-old with a firearm, or much less a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old. If you have small kids or if you have teenagers that make mistakes, teenagers make mistakes. I mean, that's what they do for a living. If you have those in your home, take extra precautions with your firearms. If it's just adults in your home, hang a loaded gun from every damn doorknob for all I care. But if you got kids in your house, use some common sense. And don't make the mistake of thinking that just sticking it in the top of the closet or hiding it under a bed or sticking it on a dresser that's too high for them to reach is securing a gun. Kids are little apes. They'll get to them. I used to push the table that our phone sat on in the hallway over against the wall, turn a trash can upside down on it, climb up on that, get on the door frame just to get to the attic access so I could look at my grandfather's porn. Porn wasn't nearly as interesting to me as guns were at that time. Now, I know some people will say, well, I introduced my kids to guns, so that squelches their curiosity, so now they're not curious about them anymore. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Your small bit of training is not overcoming, tens of thousands of years of evolution that made these children curious. They're still going to be curious. That's like saying, well, my kid doesn't like to eat sweets because I introduced him to candy, and now he knows what it's like, so he's not curious about it. They're still going to want it because they like it. And if they like guns and they think they're fun, they're still going to want to play with them. And don't pull that, oh, you just don't want to be a good father and take the time to teach your kids. Because I do take the time to teach my kids. I have videos of me taking them shooting, of buying them guns. Take a lot of flack for it online. I train my kids. I teach them responsibility. But I don't forget their kids. When we get home, we lock the guns up. Because I know no matter how much I train them or what I teach them, they're still kids. They're still going to do stupid things. Hell, we teach teenagers how to drive. They still drive irresponsibly, even though we teach them how to drive. We don't deny them the right to drive. We let them drive. But then they still go out and make fools of themselves and do stupid things. I'm lucky to be alive. So I know teenagers do stupid things. We're the adults. We're the ones that have to be able to realize that and compensate for it. It's not up to the children. It's up to us. And if we fall down on that duty, it's no one's fault but our own. You can't train your child to not be a child. They're always going to be a child as long as they are one. Until they grow up and become an adult and leave behind childish things, as the saying goes, they're children. And they're going to behave as such. And that means they're going to make mistakes. That means they're going to do things they're not supposed to do. And when you ask them why, they're going to say, I don't know. And when they say, I don't know, you want that to be about something that isn't life-ending. You want it to be about something that you can change or that you can fix. If they make a mistake with a firearm, sometimes that can't be fixed. Now, in the special, they seem to be pretty honest. They were showing people that locked up their guns and people that didn't lock up their guns. And in the cases where they showed that children that had harmed themselves or another child with a gun, where children that had been killed by another child with a gun or a child that had killed themselves, they pointed out that in all the cases, the one common factor was the parents left the gun out, loaded, unattended. And the fact that that's a bad idea is something I can't disagree with. I agree with them completely. There was even one mother on there that had the nerve to act surprised that her 8-year-old daughter touched her firearm that she leaves laying out on the table loaded on the dining room table. She was surprised that when her daughter's cousin came over and they were alone with the gun, they played a game of touching the gun and playing with the gun, and she had the nerve to act shocked. I'm like, if you're a parent and that shocks you, you're not a good parent. And they pointed out that guns in the home do protect people. They showed a young girl that protected herself against an intruder by firing through a closet door and hitting him in the shoulder, and he ran away. They showed a man that protected his family with a firearm. They showed that people do defend themselves with firearms in their home, and it does make them safer. But they also pointed out that, having that gun in a handgun safe during the day doesn't make you any less safe. And in fact, they showed that a lot of people can access the gun very quickly, very easily in modern day safes and have that gun at the ready pretty quickly. And if you're in a situation where 1 or 2 seconds is going to make a difference at night in your home, if someone got that much of a drop on you while you're sleeping, you're dead anyway. It's definitely not worth the risk of thinking, well, there might be a situation where 1 or 2 seconds might make a difference at night. That small, tiny possibility is not worth risking the life of your young child on. In fact, when I leave the home, people say, well, don't you leave it to where it can be accessible to your older child? No, I do not, because I do not think he is old enough and mature enough to deal with that yet. So I leave them other alternatives. I pay for an alarm system. I have cameras. I have lights. I have good locks on my doors. And if it comes to the fact that someone gets in the house and they're in their rooms, they have ladders in their rooms so that they can get out. They have emergency ladders on their windows that they can get the hell out. We live in a populated neighborhood. Once they're out the window and out in the neighborhood, there's plenty of safe places to go. That is much safer to me than leaving them unattended with a firearm that they're not mature enough to handle. I'm not saying all teenagers can't handle a gun. I'm saying my 15-year-old can't. I had a 15-year-old niece who I would have trusted with a gun in a minute, but I will not trust my 15-year-old son with it because I know he's not mature enough. And that's what I'm telling you. If you have teenagers that are mature enough, that's one thing, but most aren't. And definitely preteens are not, and young children are definitely not. If you're fooling yourself into thinking they are, you're just fooling yourself. And you're not fooling anybody else, just yourself. So man up, be responsible, be a parent, and act like you have some sense. If you have preteens, small kids, or even irresponsible teens in your house and you have firearms, if they're not on your person, lock them the fuck up.